We've talked a lot of movies on Movie Tales, a lot of my favorite movies, a lot of ones that were sleeper hits to me. But what we're talking about today might be the most foundational film for me as a young person. This is the film that kind of started everything going on around me, and it's also one of those movies I hadn't seen in over a decade, maybe even not 2 decades, but it's been at least 12 years since I last saw this movie. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because we're in such like this weird era where everything is like this large, complex, systematic thing of a genre now. Superheroes and comic books are of a genre in its own right, and whenever there's a movie, old or new, that branches out from what that genre is supposed to be, I've been thinking about what those could look like again. And this movie might be the most different in terms of what the genre has become, which I really like that, and I wanted to watch that again and talk about it. We're talking 2003's Hulk, a film from Ang Lee, who is a filmmaker that I didn't think we'd be covering this early because a lot of his work is just so specific and I didn't know where to begin. I guess Hulk's the best place to start because it's the one most of my generation would know him for. Thought we'd do Brokeback Mountain first, but it doesn't matter. We're talking Hulk, which is the foundational film for me. Like, I still have my original toy from that movie somewhere in the stratosphere of everything I have. And coming back to this one, I think more than any other movie I've done a rewatch to, I was really worried because this was the thing that made me like this stuff. Hulk was my introduction to Marvel. He was the character I liked the most. I still remember moments of childhood just enjoying Hulk attire and seeing the character and getting like the mask and the gloves and smashing things up. Like I liked the Hulk so much because of this movie. And being a guy who has studied film now and seen all this stuff, I was really worried going back to this one. It would lose its like wonder and its interest to me because of what the genre has become and what my expectations are now. But I have to say, going back and watching Hulk 20 years removed from the original release, it is such a nice movie. It is so pleasant and it felt so calm, which is weird to say about like the Hulk as a character, but if you take this movie and you just look at this singularly and you don't look at anything else that came out of it, it is such a specific tone that no other movie is going for, let alone the genre. No other movie is going for this. A lot of that has to do with the filmmaker and the writers being like, what if we made this like a hodgepodge of a bunch of things? A classic universal monster flick where it's like, this is like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. Literally, it's a Jekyll and Hyde situation. It's just this man tortured by this idea of himself. It's subtly brilliant in that. What if we made it look like a moving comic book, which is something these flicks don't do ever again? I don't know how much time we should spend talking about the transitions in this movie because to a certain generation, and I do think a generation younger than me, is going to find a lot of these transitions annoying and ugly and dumb and stupid. But coming off of just so much like constant media being pushed in my face with like these characters that I love from comic books, coming back to Hulk and seeing like we're gonna zoom in, we're gonna start a scene on a frog's eye, zoom out to see the whole frog, zoom out to see the lab, zoom out to see a larger lab. Then we're gonna like pan back and see like these characters moving in and out of frame, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so cool to see like a movie actually like attempt to look like the visual style of comic books, not just take the characters and shoot iconic moments in like the frame, but what if we just took like how a comic book is drawn, like close-ups on the face, panels in and off frame at every single moment, like cutouts and line works of certain things that just accentuate what a comic book is. It has the flow of a comic book, and that's like insane. There's literal moments where we just see like it would be like a page of a comic book. Here's the view from this angle, here's the view from that angle, here's the view from here and here, and then a huge splash page shows up and just like disrupts the whole system. It's so nice. It was so pleasant to come back to that and have it hold up for me. This was such a good movie. Like rewatching this again, I said calm. It's so quiet, like everybody's speaking so softly, and it's such like a character-driven movie, a study about this like guy who has like a history. That's the thing about this movie that I guess makes a lot of sense if you look at what's coming later from like the Hulk as a character, is like it's just a movie about two people who are kind of in love and the abuse that they suffered from their parents, the trauma that they pushed back. The smartest thing this movie did is make the Hulk persona a metaphor for suppressed trauma, which is it's fine. I can see how some people are going to be like, "Ugh, that's stupid," but it should mean something when the Hulk does come out. It shouldn't just be like, "Here's a cool moment we're seeing because this is what the character needs to do." When Dr. Jekyll becomes Mr. Hyde, it should feel like it's intense and gripping and scary. When the Wolfman morphs into the Wolfman, it should be intense and you're freaked out by the transformation of this guy. When Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, it should be powerful and scary and upset you. And what I really like about that contrast is like every time he hulks out, it's just like the softest face for the Hulk you've ever seen. He just is like this guy who expands and gets bigger and bigger with his rage, which is a really cool thing too. Well, he just looks like a doughy little kid, and I love that so much because it's just like this thing that never got the chance to learn or adapt. It's just now like a vessel that is being presented, and I think that's such a cool thing to see. And I'll just say it. I will just say it. You can disagree with me all you want. Eric Bana is the coolest Bruce Banner because he plays him like a little dweeby boy. It's not like that neurotic, weird thing that Ruffalo's doing. It's just this guy that's like, I don't need to talk up. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to be situationally calm and collected and just like whisper every sentence I have to say until the world is going to push me into something I'm not being. It shows the duality of the two characters when Banner is so quiet and stiff and he's not saying anything or thinking anything. He's just experiencing what's in front of him. And then when Hulk comes out and it's just like this loud, obnoxious thing, it is such a good contrast, the best contrast for any of these things. And I like it a lot. It looks really fun. I again, this is a movie about trauma. His dad is the villain, and it's just well, I don't know. Should we get too into it that much? It's just kind of like, like the suppressed thing that his father worked with Betty's father, and he kind of got a little crazy doing this experiment with gamma stuff, and he experimented on himself, which led to him having a son. And then Bruce is kind of like born with this mutation that's never been able to like permeate. It's just been kind of like a thing that he has. And then we see that his father kills his mother, and it becomes like this traumatic thing. Just as like this nuclear test site goes off and this explosion of gamma stuff. Bruce in this movie is like less of like the classic like thing that Hulk was, and more just he's a vessel that is going to explode, and now it's finally happening. It's just all the pressure building up inside of him being released, and then it does, and then it just bursts into what we see and what we have happen here. And it is just so cool. And I'll just say it, I really like the way the fight scenes are shot with like the moving camera, the characters in and out of shots. It looks so good. I like all the fight scenes. I like the one when Hulk fights the stupid big dogs. I think it looks really good. I like this sequence where he fights Nick Nolte at the end and he turns into a big cloud. I think that's badass because that's like one of the coolest uses of that powers where he just turns into everything he touches, and it just like he gets defeated by falling in water. I'm like, that's such a cool idea and such a cool concept to play with. Nick Nolte's so insane in this movie, just looking like he walked off of just like a homeless shelter, which is the vibe that his character is supposed to give off, like this unstable man who's trying to like make amends for it. What I really like is like the moments where he's trying to like reconcile with his son. He's not actually talking about Bruce, he's talking about Hulk. That is such a powerful moment where he doesn't even acknowledge his son matters. He only sees the thing that he built. That is such a powerful moment. And it was so cool to see that and experience that again. I really like that. And I don't know, like the entire way this movie is shot and is built, I think it's so gorgeous, and just the way it uses the military as the bad guy. Which I mean, look, okay, so there are film scholars and critics who know this stuff more than me and are more versed than me in this stuff. But I was just thinking about this at this time, like it is Ang Lee who is kind of like not controversial, but he likes to talk about stuff in his movies. And it's like a movie being filmed around the time right after 9/11 and in the Iraq war era of stuff. So you have like the military seeing like this weapon of mass destruction that they can't control, that they want to use to fight a war that could be going on. The way the military is the bad guy here is such a concept that is straight out of Hulk. You get the classic characters Thunderbolt Ross, who was played by Sam Elliott, who looks old and young at the same time. It's such a weird thing to see him look like that. But just the sequences where it's just, okay, we captured the Hulk, we have a huge secret underground base, and now he's free in like a desert somewhere, and we're just going to send tanks and helicopters and whatever to shoot and fire at him. It is such like a weird thing to see happen, and I'm like, that would never happen today, where it's like the Hulk is fighting the military, like just the military, no special weapons, no enhanced anything, just guys and stuff. It's so cool. And Talbot's in this. Great use of Talbot just being like a dick who's kind of into Betty. And I just like that as the story progresses, he just gets so pissed at Bruce. And he's just like, I have a broken leg, a broken neck, I have a cast on my arm. I'm a beaten up guy from you, but I still want to hurt you and kill you. And when he gets caught in the fire, oh, the transition where he gets caught in the fire and it freezes on like the outline of him. It zooms out into a bunch of different frames that we could see from a panel. It chooses one to go into. Oh, I wish there was a studio movie made today that had the balls to attempt any of the transitions this movie does. Even just like the dissolving wipes, even just anything. Like, I don't see movies taking these chances today. It's just like having it be so quiet where we focus on moments of a flashback going into a flashback, where we like hold up a picture of Bruce and Betty together and it goes into the picture where he's having the flashback and then he has a flashback in that flashback. It's so cool and amazing. And I just want to say, Jennifer Connelly is amazing in this movie. Betty's a hard character to sell because what is she really? Just kind of like the Lois Lane, but more military, and even Lois Lane has military in her, but Connelly holds every scene together. She's the emotional crux of everything because her story emulates the one of Bruce, where it's like you have a father who wasn't there for you and left you in scenes. It's a really cool idea that they present where it's like you see that General Ross left Betty at like this ice cream parlor to go work on the thing. When we see that David's going to leave Bruce behind, it's like both of them are losing their fathers in that moment, realizing this is what they have left, and they find each other. And it just becomes like this scorned love story of this monster trying to find love, which is a trope I adore so much, of just there being like this one woman who can always like calm down like this man and make them like sane and comfortable. I really think that trope works so well, and Connelly does it so great, and she's so confident and just willing to admit everything, even though they're not like actively together in the movie. She's just like, yeah, I get it. We have a connection that is forged in more stuff than we realize. I guess we're going to be here for a while. Oh, it's such a good moment, and it's so cool. And I think this movie is just so interesting. Like, just seeing the way it just sets itself up. The opening credits are so unique, and that music from Elfman is so unique, and the script is so like chaotic, but it all comes together in this beautiful blend. The camera work is next level. It's something we're never going to see again in any type of genre flick. A Hulk movie that is this calm allows for moments where this character, we go like minutes without talking, just letting vibes take place and experience this moment in real time. It is so soft spoken. Nobody is yelling until they have to. These sets are all big and grandiose, and the Hulk design is my favorite Hulk design. Just how big and bulky and calm he looks. It's such a cool concept. I love when he gets dirty. I love when he falls into like the sand and gets all sandy. It's just great. Like, it is such a fantastic piece to watch now to see what's coming from the genre later, because when this came out, this wasn't a genre. It was just like, well, we could just make, a Jekyll and Hyde story and make it look like a comic book, which was a insane idea. And now, in retrospect, it's like Nothing will ever attempt this style again, with its transitions, with its coloring, with its characters. We are never in our lifetime going to get a comic book movie this quiet, where it's just, we're going to hold on characters looking at each other, longing for each other, thinking about each other. Just have it just set up this quiet moment and have it end so nonchalantly, where we have like a big battle. We have a big cloud that's full of lightning beating up the Hulk in a beautiful sequence where the silhouettes of Hulk show up. It's so gorgeous. And then suddenly the fight's over. He beat his dad. He got he got past the trauma he's been experiencing his whole life, and then just winds up in the jungle somewhere. It's like that happens in like 10 minutes. Oh, we'd never do that again. But it's so gorgeous. The colors are great. The parallels between Banner and Hulk are so awesome. Like the mirror sequence, I don't even know if I need to talk about it. It's like the best thing ever seen. I was giddy every second of that. Hulk running through the desert. It's so good. The cast is great. Connolly is phenomenal. This is the pinnacle for me now, you know? It was the one that got me here, and it's the one that's going to keep me staying. I think this is going to become like one of those movies where I'm going to go tell people like, no, you have to understand what we're saying, what we're doing, and how this is such a unique experience, because there's nothing like it. There isn't. We don't do it again. Banner is the best Bruce. I don't know if it'll ever be topped. We'll see. But this was so impressive, and I'm so glad I decided to go back and watch it, because this was exactly what I needed right now to get reinvigorated into what the Marvel movies can be again. So please watch Hulk. It is such a good movie. So much more than what you're thinking of. It's so Freudian at times too, where it's like, ooh, look at this son and this father and their weird relationship, that there's love and hate in every single scene. Father and daughter hate in every single scene. And it's just about like what a universal monster hate his father enough to want to kill him. It's very interesting. And that's going to do it for this episode of Dynamic Tales. Now, thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check them out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe, you puny humans. Good luck.